Politics tonight, where we dig and go beyond the headlines for informed analysis of major political stories in Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Experts advocate development of homegrown democracy to check recurrent coup in Africa. On the interview segment, for today, we focus on military coup in Gabon spreads panic in Africa, with a political scientist and research associate professor at the Institute of African and Diaspora Studies, University of Lagos, Olukayode Isuola, and the former staff with United Nations mission in Darfur, Sudan, Professor Babafemi Badejo, as our guests. Welcome to Politics Tonight. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back and thanks a lot for staying with us. You're still watching Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. Now let's begin with some developments in the polity. Experts say one of the ways to overcome recurrent coup in Africa is to develop homegrown democracy that will ensure the democratic principles reflect the cultural realities and diversity of Africans. This is according to a global affairs analyst who says despite the challenges, democracy is still the only path to development. Moya Thomas reports.
Africa in the last 3 years have experienced 8 coups, mainly in the West and Central African region. A development that has not just raised concerns, but also elicited the need for a change in African politics and policies. TVC News spoke with a global affairs analyst to x-ray reasons coups now seem to be popular in the African region, despite efforts to strengthen democracy.
Yeah, democracy, for me, is the best system of government that suits Africa. But the problem is that the Africans have failed woefully in defining and designing the suitable architecture and operational modus operandi of the branch of democracy they want to practice.
He says beyond constitutional abuse, dissatisfaction among the populace, increasing poverty and lack of democratic dividends to the people stimulate coups. On the way forward, he says, the solution lies with the African leaders.
The foreign forces have superimposed themselves. Africans are now seeing that their leaders are puppets. They are neo-colonial clients in power. And then with the calls, now it is now stimulating these reactions, and people are saying, oh, coups are the solution, because now look at Gabon. Why are Africans who just elected their leaders now celebrating coups?
Dr. Bello says the sad reality is that the present hardships faced by citizens in Africa may not end until African leaders come together and find a common ground of agreement on acceptable ways to relinquish power. According to him, synergy and collaboration among leaders and citizens of the African community will help develop the continent and end the spate of coups and rising discontent. As it has been widely acknowledged, coup is not the way to go. Then the next question for African leaders is, what system of government can accommodate the diversity of Africa and propel the development the people truly yearns for? Moya Thomas, TVC News, Abuja.
Let's take a short break, and when we return, it will be time to speak with our guest of the day, a political scientist and research associate professor at the Institute of African and Diaspora Studies, University of Lagos, Olukayode Isuola, as well as a former staff with United Nations mission in Darfur, Sudan, Professor Babafemi Badejo, for discussion on military coup in Gabon spreads panic in Africa. Stay with us. Welcome back to Politics Tonight. Now let's get to our interview with the guests of the day. I am joined by a political scientist and a research associate professor at the Institute of African and Diaspora Studies, University of Lagos, Olukayode Isola, as well as a former staff with United Nations mission in Darfur, Sudan, Professor Babafemi Badijo, for discussion on military coup in Gabon spreads panic in Africa. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, sirs.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me. And good evening, Prof.
Good evening, Jezebel. So let's start. Let me start with Professor Isola. Just about 1 month after the Niger coup, the military struck in Gabon. Is this Arab Spring all over again?
Yes, that's what it is. You don't need the wisdom of Orunmila to identify that fact. And we might not even say that we're at the end of the matter. Only heavens know where this is taking us. There are several problems, as you know, that have brought us into this state of the world. And fundamental among the problems is that people are not in any way getting the promises of democracy. There's no analysis that we can give to it that will escape this fact. Nigerians, West Africans, Africans in general are not getting the promises of democracy. If this is true, as we all know, they are ready to seek alternative at any time. And that is why whenever there is military coup, the common people on the street, who are supposed to be the center of democracy, are the first to start jubilating. The jubilation does not mean that they support military coup or military governance, but because they abhor the kind of democracy that operates in their system, that is laden with very weak civil society, ethnicity, religiosity, nepotism, dictatorship, and foreign influence. Because they have all these problems in democracy, they will always ever support.
I have rejoined.
This is the reason.
So, Professor Badijo, if you can hear me, we have witnessed 7 military coups in Africa in the last 3 years, 4 in West Africa and 2 in Central Africa. Why is coup endemic in those 2 regions?
Well, I don't know if it is correct to say that it is endemic in those regions. The fact is that we have a lot of problems in Africa, and I've been emphasizing the fact that we face leadership deficits across the board in Africa, but more so in West, Central, East, and perhaps to some extent Southern Africa. So that leadership deficit and the level of corruption in the countries we are talking about has been producing the kind of experience we are having, in which the people who are more organized in terms of firepower are thrusting themselves on people as a way out of the morass of leadership deficit that we face. And within that leadership deficit, we also need to add the problem of external dynamics. Without looking at the external dynamics, we will not have a clearer picture. Of course, when you said, speaking about West and Central Africa, you're talking about largely Francophone countries in West Africa, Guinea, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, as well as Chad, Gabon. Of the 7 or so that you're talking about, 6 are in Francophone Africans. So we need to look at how has been the manipulation of France in all this, and the weakness of African leaders to wriggle out of it. And I must hasten to point out that those who came before those who are there currently had tried initially to wiggle out, and they were assassinated. And up till recently, there are still cases taking place on a more regular basis. So our leaders in the African countries sold out and decided to keep a good relationship with these powers of the West in general. And that has accounted for the dissonance between leadership that is only selfish and catering for itself and not providing or unable to provide for the generality of the people. What is the purpose of government? Government is something that we all put together and agree on a constitution. In many cases, had been put before, not everybody, but okay, we have the rules of, okay, there is constitution and let's go on with that constitution. Then we talk about the need to elect the people who are going to represent and make decisions on behalf of people. But it is really not election that is taking place, even in many of these countries. We are having selections taking place, either being foisted from the West or by the caricature of political parties that exist in many of these countries. But I think that we will be missing a lot of points if we continue to see democracy as just once you have elections, you have had democracy. It's not so. It's much more complex. The end point of having election is to ensure utmost freedom for people, and most important within utmost freedom are those basic needs of human beings to breathe, to drink water, and also to eat. And when all that is becoming difficult, it's on top of that that we add all those fundamental human rights and many other things that we find in the Sustainable Development Goals. If a government cannot deliver on all that, then you start asking, what is the purpose of governance? Why do we have so-called democracy a la Western format? Because I should point out, the election of people, the government of the people, by the people, for the people, is taking place in different modes all over the world. But we are fixated on what we got out of the West at the end of colonization, and we are not ready to think about those who are performing elsewhere and are getting people, millions of people, out of poverty. But it doesn't matter for the West and our governments once they go to selection process and have leadership foisted. And when that is happening, you are bound to have reactions like you are having in the countries that you are pointing to. And that's not the end. It's not the end. You can have President Tinubu and ECOWAS and African Union and the United Nations and ECAS now in terms of Central Africa say whatever they want to say. There will also always be the restiveness of people.
All right.
And the military takes advantage of the restiveness of the people. It's not that the military are any better, don't get me wrong, because leadership deficit is across the board, even beyond politicians and the military in terms of what we face. We have that same problem in the religious sector. We need to ask ourselves, how come some of the people that we were colonized together are doing better, especially in Asia, but there is hardly anybody you can point to in Africa? Why is that the case? What can be done about some of that? But unless we address all those fundamental issues, we pretend that we are governing people because we have had elections and elections are rigged at will. Nobody is able to do anything about it. we get 3 candidates. I was listening to Singaporeans talking about their elections today. A lady was saying, I'm very happy. I was given 3 people to select from, and the best of the 3 won. You can't say that about much of Africa. We are normally presented the worst amongst us, and we have to select at the end of the day from the so-called political parties. And when all that happens, we are bound to have the kind of problems that we are facing.
All right, Professor Badijo. Professor Isola, help me with this. How is the Gabon coup different or similar to other coups that have happened recently in Africa?
Theoretically, I don't see any difference between the Gabonese coup and that other ones that have happened in West Africa. One fundamental thing runs across all the coups, whether you talk about ECOWAS or the one in Central Africa, place of Gabon. And that is part of what Prof just said. Democracy is a philosophy of governance. And that philosophy is simply that people have say in those who govern them. However, democracy is like clothing, or if you like, fashion. The environment in which you operate determines how you design your cloth and the kind of fashion that you subscribe to. So if you live in the Sahel, your fashion is likely to be different from those who live in a very cold region. I think that is fundamentally missing in Africa. The idea of democracy is great. We have bought into it. But we refuse to take into consideration the peculiarities of our own experiences as peoples of Africa. I mean, we tailor democracy sacrosanct, immutably, after some parts of the world. And then we came across this democratic system that we are practicing, either on the pages of newspaper or textbook. That kind of system cannot endure. A system of government or any system like that endures in the society because it is a product of people's lived experiences. So by now, what I expect ECOWAS and AU to be doing is to start utilizing the intellectuals across Africa to interrogate why we are having the problems that we are having. But then, when you have a country where professors and intellectuals in the university are being owed 8 months' salary, they are not paid, and they are paid monies that are even not good enough to take anybody home. Are these the intellectuals you are going to invite to come and solve your problem? Or does that government even understand the role of the intellectual in solving the problem of the society? So, beyond just looking at other factors that Prof has mentioned, we need to rework, reframe, restructure, quite fundamentally, the kind of democracy that we have in Africa. In fairness to Omabongo of his country, I cannot remember now, I watched one of his interviews somewhere where he was saying that a democracy in Nigeria or in Africa where a lot of work needs to be done in terms of fixing infrastructures, governance, crisis of identity, should not be the same with that which you have in, say, a place like the United States, where the president almost is jobless. He has nothing to do apart from making statements and then fixing issues across international communities. The two of these societies may be practicing democracy, but in terms of parliamentary structure, in terms of governance structure, in terms of the number of ministers, in terms of tenure of office, there must be fundamental differences in what they apply. Are we so intellectually lazy in Africa that we cannot even sit down, identify the problem, raise critical questions, and set objectives to rework our democracy to suit our own socio-peculiar, structures? Or we are just simply not interested in building our people? These are the questions that cut across all these countries that have been experiencing military rule. There is no difference. Maybe the difference you have is that a team of some countries will be found in West Africa and the other one in Gabon. Apart from that, the underlying factors are the same all across. So it's high time that ECOWAS and AU and every other international organizations that's involved began to be proactive. The word is proactive. I mean, when we listen to some of these popular musicians, we just dance away the music without noting the important things that they are talking about. In Teacher, Don't Teach Me Nonsense, Fela Kuti said, a teacher must correct the mistake of a student whenever it is observed. Now, AU is coming out to condemn military rule. ECOWAS is coming out to condemn military rule. But when leaders in Africa have been perpetrating themselves in offices, manipulating constitutions, manipulating elections, engaging in political violence, killing and maiming, all in the name of political struggles, what did ECOWAS do? What did AU do? Must these organizations just wait till things get out of hand before they start reactive responses towards the situation? Again, are we too lazy for these organizations to come up and find out what the problems are and help design the solution? We have universities, we have intellectuals, we have policymakers, we have, diplomats that we can use to solve this problem, but we are not. Then after coup, you now wait and start suspending. Suspension means what?
Professor Isola, let me stay with you for a minute. I mean, just like Professor Bade just said, France is central to these countries with coup. What does this tell us? Is France the problem or part of the problem?
With due respect to Prof's opinion, I do not disagree that France is central. But then we have a proverb in Africa that we can utilize to explain the issue. If there's no crack in your wall domestically, who is France to come intruding upon the policies of Africa? France is just capitalizing on the ill-governed situation in Africa to penetrate the people, to perpetrate divide and rule, and then to turn the lives of the African people camera obscura. If tomorrow African leaders team up to identify the problems of their people, raise critical questions towards the problems of their people, and set out objectives to creatively and proactively address the problems of the people, France's influence or intervention or whatever nomenclature you want to give to it will fade away like just a melting point at any point in time. I don't see France as a major issue. If we address our domestic affairs, we will be able to solve the problem. I mean, a common sense proverb that goes around the street is that charity begins at home. When you have countries in a particular international or sub-regional organization, and those countries cannot even address their simple, economic problems at home. Security problems they cannot address. That country becomes a laughing stock. Whether it's going to be chairman of ECOWAS or is leading ECOWAS to war, nobody in the international community will take the country seriously. And then France will then capitalize on things like this. Of course, US will capitalize on things like this. And of course, Russia will capitalize on things like that to further penetrate the people. So who I will focus on is not France. I will focus on African leaders who have refused to sit down and theorize the problems of their people and then design solutions to be able to address this problem. That's the one of course, it's not different fundamentally from Rob's position, but beyond France, our people must take the bull by the horn. When they see that you are addressing your problem, when they see that you are serious with your people, your people will in turn be loyal to you. Then external forces of whatever coloration that makes attempt to intervene will be suppressed even by the power of the people. Because in theory, every nation is supposed to be sovereign, and that sovereignty belongs to the people. But when you mess up the people who are supposed to hold your sovereignty for you, of course, external forces will have every opportunity to penetrate you and then destroy your polity. France is not the problem per se. Our leaders are the problem. If they sit up today and fix the political system, the influence of France will melt away almost unnoticeably.
All right.
That's my thinking.
All right. So, Professor Badijo, let me come to you. I mean, based on this trend, it would seem like democracy is becoming unpopular in Africa. I mean, some persons have even gone ahead to say democracy is superficial in Africa because the military never left. Is that the case?
Well, before I go to that, I would like to address two issues that cropped up in the discussion. And those two issues are fundamental. The African Union, United Nations, what have it, as international organizations, are not governments. I think there is an error in the Yoruba language when they call the United Nations Ijoba Agbaye. It is no Ijoba, it is no government. It has no powers other than whatever power its members give it. And you have a union of sovereign states. I worked for the United Nations for almost 24 years. But that's not all. I am an academic from University of Lagos and currently at Chrisland University, Abeokuta. So I do combine the two worlds and know what I'm talking about. Madeleine Albright told international servants to always remember who pays their salaries before they start to criticize United States. This was to Akashi when we were having the conflict in Macedonia in the 90s. So in effect, there is very little that all these organizations can do because all these heads of states go to meet every year. And at that summit, they take care of themselves, pamper themselves, congratulate themselves. Diplomacy doesn't allow them to say anything negative about each other, and they are always making it appear like everything is super duper. There is no frankness about that. Then do you expect the chairperson of the African Union to now issue a press statement? Of course, even the ambassador of the African Union to Washington, D.C., Dr. Arikana, she felt that she needed to document what France was doing to its colonies. And she, on the basis of data, pointed out that France was taking $500 billion out of Africa annually. This is political economy. If you are taking $500 billion out of Africa and you are giving a paltry and saying you are giving aid, and our leaders are busy running around Paris, why is that possible? It's not something that is happening now. It is an agreement that was signed in order for France to give independence. Those who opposed were deposed and killed in a number of the cases. The first coup in Africa was as a result of Silvano Olympio wanting to have his own independent money for Togo. He was booted out and Eyadema was put by France as a replacement. What was the experience of Patrice Lumumba in DRC, Congo? He was killed, and not only killed, burnt in ashes, and only a tooth was left, which was being... So when we are talking about the problems that these countries face, of course, I'm the first one to emphasize that leadership deficit is crucial. Corruption goes along with the leadership deficit for Africa. And if we cannot tackle those two, we won't even be able to address the external dynamics that are there. But those external dynamics must not be wished away as simplistic problems. They are there. In the case of the larger entities, you are dealing with IMF that is deciding what you do and what you don't do. In terms of the French, they actually post French officials as accounting agents in the ministries of these Francophone countries. It's not, it's the pact. It's the pact that they signed at the end of colonization. Some of them have spoken out, only a few of them. Mandela was called upon when he was still alive to help persuade the French not to take the tax that they were to pay in 1 year. And Mandela thought, wow, this is worse than apartheid. It's all documented. So we do have a major problem to face, and we must learn to work on two legs if we are to deal with this problem of the military re-entering and not wanting to go, because they are organized and they take advantage of people once they see that the people are disenchanted with the selection process that from the beginning give us the worst of us to lead us, and then after all that is done, they even rig it among themselves, whether it is just 2 or 3. And in Gabon that we are talking about, it is clear that we do have a palace coup, and not your ordinary type of coup, because the person who had overthrown in this instance is also the same family with the person he has overthrown. He was put there under trust as the head of the presidential guard, and as a result, Ali Bongo thought that he could push away his disability. And don't get me wrong, disability is not a reason for somebody not to be in office. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was a paraplegic, and he did fantastically well for the United States because they also have very good structures, which makes me agree with the point Professor Ishola was making, that the American president, given the structures and the institutions that have been built over time, doesn't have to worry. But push that aside. The guy was pushed aside and he's saying, make noise, make noise. Is it make noise that is going to solve the problem at hand? It's like the case of Bogwiba, who was pushed aside and put in a room and told every morning that he is president when somebody else was ruling the country. So you have that, and Aba, Ondo, Osat went into conflict, electoral conflict, and many are suggesting that he won, but it was declared that Ali Bongo has won all over again. And the reaction to all that was the people were getting ready and upset that their will is not done. And the cousin of Ali took charge and pushed everybody aside, and he's going to be sworn in on Monday. He's not saying, let us look at the election all over again, let us count the votes, but he is taking charge. So you're still having an extended member of the family in control after 56 years. So that's what is happening with respect to Gabon.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Now let's take a break at this point. This is Politics Tonight. This conversation continues after this break. Please stay with us.
Experience information and entertainment like never before as TVC Breakfast takes your weekends to a whole new level. Introducing TVC Breakfast Weekend Edition, your ultimate source of thrilling sports updates, insightful political analysis, and captivating entertainment news. Stay in the know with what's trending, catch up with the latest in sports, and immerse yourself in the latest buzz from the world of music and movies. Your weekends are no longer just days off, but moments packed with knowledge, excitement, and enjoyment. TVC Breakfast Weekend Edition, only on TVC News, starting 2nd September 2023.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV Station of the Year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Thanks a lot for staying with us. Tonight, we're taking a look at the broader trend of military takeover in Africa with a political scientist and research associate professor at the Institute of African and Diaspora Studies, University of Lagos, Olukayode Sola, as well as a former staff of the United Nations mission in Darfur, Sudan, Professor Babafemi Badijo. All right, Professor Isola, let me come to you. And to kick off from where Professor Badijo stopped, the coup leaders in Gabon have appointed a general to head them. Some analysts describe the situation as moving from frying pan to fire. Do you agree? And also, the post-president Bongo is still in detention. Why do you think they are keeping him?
Well, again, it is common sense, especially from our lived experience in Africa, that when you truncate a democratic government and you go into military rule, it's as good as you are going from frying pan to fire. This is true in Gabon. It is true in almost every other West African state that is involved in this scenario. Don't get me wrong, experience has not shown us that the military government is a better alternative to democracy. So those who say that Gabon has just moved from frying pan to fire are not very far from the truth. Now, what's your second question? Sorry, why did you think he has done that?
That's the post-president Bongo is still in detention. Why do you think they are keeping him?
Oh, well, I mean, you know the military. They operate by force, by the barrel of the gun, and it becomes very difficult to understand their strategies. And that is why they just do what they do. The keeping may be for security reasons. Who knows? It could also be to ensure that he's coerced into signing some agreement for them to be able to operate within the time frame that they will soon put to the public as what they demand. That could also be the reason. But nobody is a soothsayer who could identify directly the intention of these military leaders. But I think it is part of the strategy to suppress the man, to dehumanize him, and probably cajole him into signing such agreements that will make him, surrender immediately from the office. That's what I think.
So, Professor Badijo, the African Union has suspended Gabon just like it did to Niger. To what extent can this dissuade coup plotters?
Well, the suspension, what does it imply? What is the capacity of the African Union? The Peace and Security Council of the African Union is a major organ of the Union, and it is charged under the protocol that set it up to consider circumstances in which members can be or should be suspended. And one of that is what they have called unconstitutional changes of government. It's only that the unconstitutional changes of government has been restricted to military intervention because, as Professor Eshola has also mentioned, as I've also been repeating, when Al-Hassan Ouattara, who was talking about the coupists in Niger being terrorists, when he was changing the constitution of Cote d'Ivoire, and nobody said anything was wrong about that. Somehow, he said, I'm going to leave office. But each person he says, I'm going to hand power to, died unexpectedly until he said, well, now I have to continue to keep the process. So it's on the third term. Nobody said anything about unconstitutional change. What does it mean that the Peace and Security Council of the African Union did not suspend, could not suspend, dare not suspend one of the members of the union that they are servicing? So, but when it is military intervention, you say, okay, they are suspended. But what does it really matter? At the end of the day, you cannot attend meetings of the African Union. Your members, your citizens cannot get jobs. Those who are already on the job are not thrown out, but new ones will not be taken into jobs in terms of the suspension. African Union meetings will not be held in your territory. So what will be the reaction of these countries? And in some of the cases, I don't know, I don't subscribe to the normal statement that no military government is, the worst civilian government is better than any civilian government. Mark my word, I avoid using the word democracy because that's easily thrown here and there. Democratic government. What is democratic? About the fact that people voted and their votes were robbed and all the rest of it, even if they were having genuine voting taking place. But the fact of the matter is that you are not able to solve this, the problems that we face by mere suspension, except you address the fundamental problems that we've been talking about. Leadership deficit, the problem of corruption, the problem of external dynamics, the fact that we have failed to build institutions, the fact that we have failed to build effective human resources that can take charge of our affairs. Because it's important to agree with Professor Eshola that the external dimension is there. But the question is, how have the Asians been able to do it? Some of the Asians, if you look at Malaysia, if you look at India, India just landed on the moon, and the southern pole of the moon that nobody has been able, everybody has wanted to go there because of the suspicion that there was water there. So India carried out a major feat. Yes, we were colonized. Like the Indians, they got independence in 1947. We got ours in 1960. We got free about the same time with South Korea, Malaysia, a little bit earlier than ourselves, closer to the Indians. See what those countries have done with themselves, with the appropriate type of leadership. So definitely, there is no doubt that we need to address all that. Suspending people is neither here nor there. I think it's it's just a tokenism that African Union puts forward, ECOWAS puts forward. What has it meant? And talking about military coup, Burkina Faso, what was Thomas Sankara? Everybody agrees that Thomas Sankara moved Burkina Faso forward. Jerry Rawlings came in as a military. He moved Ghana forward before they forced him into going into what do you call it? Muammar Gaddafi. Muammar Gaddafi moved Libya by far forward. Abdel Nasser moved Egypt by far forward. Those were from military backgrounds. It's a question of we should understand that the military mode is one of the modes of leadership selection. There are many things that are involved when you're talking about participation of people in how they are governed. It's not the going to vote every 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, as we have in West and Central Africa, that is the only thing to focus on. And invariably, you look at Cameroon, you look at Equatorial Guinea, you look at several of these places and ask yourself, when will it be? And you cannot say that it is not going to happen in Anglophone Africa also. It's the extent to which the military are able to sense a huge dissatisfaction, knowing fully well that they are not going to be condemned. Whether African Union is going to, the PSC is going to suspend them, and in some of the cases, who is going to suspend, say, countries like Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt,
Prof.
with the kind of money they contribute?
But then, I do not know to what extent a lot of people would agree with you on that. But let me come to Professor Isola. While you react to that, how concerned should AU and other regional bodies be that the coups are getting the support of the people of the countries?
Yeah, you see, the underlying factor remains the same. Whether you want to agree with Prof or disagree with him, or you agree with me or disagree with him, AU has never been proactive towards the yearnings and aspirations of the people of Africa. The idea of democracy has one thing. It is that governance is central to the feelings of the people. Once that idea is truncated, AU should be the first organization to shout out. ECOWAS should be the first organization to shout out. Of course, they will always come around and not want to break diplomacy around themselves, but there's also something we call destructive diplomacy, in which you can leave all these pretenses of what is politically correct and call yourself to order by telling the bitter truth. The fundamental thing is that AU has not been playing the role it should play. Secondly, we should make use of the intellectual community in Africa to rework our political system, even with the nomenclature of democracy. Prof pointed at a few countries where military dictators were able to make significant impact in the lives of the people. That alone is one of the reasons we need to redesign our democracy. We are not a product of the same social, political, and economic experiences with the countries of Europe and America. We must rethink our democracy to reflect our own lived experiences as a people. If we don't do that, AU will just remain what it has been over the years, a committee of head of states of Africa, which comes together periodically to take tea, but with no significant impact in the lives of the people. If you look at what is going on across the Francophone countries now, it is as anti-France as much as it is anti-ECOWAS. People don't want to hear France anymore. But the same way people are beginning to say, we don't even want to hear ECOWAS anymore. Because rather than protect the interests of the West African citizens, ECOWAS is merely protecting the interests of the members its members who are predominantly the head of states and presidents of the country. And God forbid that if this is allowed to continue, very soon, citizens of Africa will also begin to talk about anti-AU, because they may begin to sense that as ECOWAS is not protecting the interests of the economic community of West African states in terms of their citizens, AU may also not eventually be protecting the interests of the African people. So these organizations must be concerned. They must be proactive. Even if there are charters that they have had that prevent them from delving into the internal arrangements of the member countries, circumstances on ground now are abnormal, and they demand abnormal solutions and abnormal approaches towards resolving the problems. I see an ECOWAS setting up a very strong committee within it. That committee that will ensure that any country, any member country that conducts election with fraud, with forgery, with anti-people, signature should not be congratulated. And after that, nobody in ECOWAS should attend the swearing in of that. Even that hostility will go on in a long way to solve the problems that we are facing in Africa. I think we should not just take all these things hook, line, and sinker. We should be less emotive to say that we want to practice democracy the way they practice in America. We don't have the same socio-political history and experiences. So what they do over there may not necessarily work here. The final word from me is that it is important for Africans and the states in Africa to make use of the intellectual community in terms of the history they have, the policy analysis they have, the analysis of political, system that they have, and several of these things that we are, talking about at this point now, to rework the political system in their places, so that we will stop getting into this quagmire at any point in time. If we don't do that, if we remain sacrosanct, fixated about the system, the structures, and everything, we will continue to somersault. What is happening in Africa now is a big somersault. I mean, we thought we made a progress in the 90s and 2000s. Now, of all members of ECOWAS state, almost 30% will now be governed by the military. This is sad, and we need to be more proactive in addressing the system at the level of ECOWAS and by extension at the level of AU.
All right, gentlemen. Prof, quickly before we go, what do you think can be done to discourage coups in Africa as a whole? Professor Badijo, you can go first.
Well, to discourage coup is to have governance that is reactive to the needs of the people. Gabon, we are talking about, made $6 billion last year from oil alone. I visited Gabon on consultancy for the African Union in 2019. 2.3 million people, poverty written all over the place. The capital was nothing. If we are not addressing the needs of the people, if the 6 billion was being taken and put into Pandora Papers, Panama Papers, Paradise Papers, Ali Bongo was there, like many of our own leaders were in those, but nobody ever probed into what is happening to all that money. If we are not addressing leadership deficit and corruption, we are going nowhere.
All right, thank you, Prof.
Continue to be cool.
Thank you so much. Professor Isola, you can have your final take, please.
Well, very quickly, I agree with Prof 100%. We must also tackle the weak civil society that we have in Africa, so that we can produce civil society organizations that will be proactive and that can set agenda for governments in Africa. Ethnicity, religiosity, nepotism, neo-patrimonial culture, dictatorship, and of course, Sithitism must always be the focus of what we don't have in Africa. Individual states must go against it. ECOWAS, AU, and other international organizations must not only go against them, they must fight them. And of course, finally, foreign influence will be discouraged and prevented from being in operation if internally African states address all these problems by themselves. And then we can have a better Africa.
All right. I must appreciate you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming on the program. Professor Isola, thank you so much. You've become an in-house person. Thank you. We sincerely appreciate your time with us. Professor Badijo, thank you so much, Prof. And I look forward to more conversation with you. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And thank you so much for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But the conversation continues from here. Get in touch with us on Twitter at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Latuji. Goodbye.
OneXBet presents the new 1000% hyper bonus. Take part in. Place your accumulators with OneXBet and boost your winnings by up to 1000%. Hyper bonus, better than bonus.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. Are you worried about the safety and security of your home at night? Do you wish to know when intruders come close to your home? Or do you want to protect what matters to your family from anywhere at any time? What if there was a convenient, affordable way to keep surveillance on your home without having to worry about wires, installations, or heavy light bills? Introducing the incredible Sidebulb HD Cam, the robotic 360-degree two-way torque camera with action tracking technology. Sidebulb is the ultimate solution for discreet and powerful surveillance. It's so easy to install, and the app lets you rotate and view the video from your Sidebulb in real time from any smartphone. You can drop in from anywhere and check in with our two-way talk technology. Talk and listen at the same time.
Hello, Mommy.
Hey, sweetie. I'll be home soon, okay?
Sidebulb's advanced tracking technology locks onto motion and tracks in real time. Set the siren alarm to go up when motion is detected and keep intruders away. Check in on your home while you're away. Make sure the kids got home safely. Interact with visitors at your doorway or surprise a trespasser.
Surveillance in a light bulb. I was amazed at the 360-degree rotation. It gives me a full view of my house and I can check in on my kids. The footage is clear and the night vision is so impressive. The best part, I can add multiple side bulbs for a complete home surveillance.
I really like my Sidebulb. It's so easy to use. I just downloaded the app, I put it on my phone, and I add it up and run in about 3 minutes.
Traditional surveillance systems are bulky, expensive, and difficult to install. But with Sidebulb HD Cam's innovative design, installation is as fast as changing a light bulb, and it's made for indoor and outdoor surveillance.
The Sidebulb HD Cam is now available in Nigeria exclusively from ShopX TV. You could be paying up to 200,000 naira for an indoor and outdoor security system that doesn't fully secure your home. But call the number on your screen now and get the Sidebulb HD Cam for just 45,000 naira and get peace of mind. And that's not all. If you call now, we'll give you an extra Sidebulb at no extra cost. That means you buy one and get one free for 45,000 naira. But wait, there's more. If you order now, you get the Sidebulb HD Cam delivered to you for free wherever you are in Nigeria. So, call the number on your screen now or visit our website to place your order while stock lasts. The proceeding was a paid presentation brought to you by ShopX TV.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, We're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
The sun rises, it's a new day, but the joy that it brings is short-lived. Militiamen have struck again, this time killing at least 21 persons in Barkin-Ladi local government area of Plateau State. 5 members of one family wiped out. Another family is mourning the gruesome murder of 3 relatives.
It's quite unfortunate that this attack lasted for close to 30 minutes, but there wasn't any intervention until when vigilante members of this community tried to repel the attackers. They were facing the attackers, and all of a sudden the security came in.
I'm urging all the youths all over, please, that are listening to me. You have the right of living. You have the right of living. You have the right of living. Rise up for self-defense. Self-defense is the only solution for our survival.
Locals in the area and community leaders say there was intelligence the midnight attack would occur.
It is very unbelievable and quite devastating. How did Colonel Abdusalam, MD Abdusalam, tackle the security situation in Barkin-Ladi local government that they have never been coordinated attack for over 2 years? But upon the assumption of office by the present commander, Barkin-Ladi has come to theater of attacks, pogrom, genocide, and all sorts of atrocities without anybody saying anything.
The power of Jesus, it will never go in.
All my life I had always imagined what it would be like to visit or report in Jos, Plateau State. I didn't think I would come to report a humanitarian crisis that is being left to fester. Why has this conflict defied time and dialogue? It's 22 years after the major riot in Jos, and one of the most crucial questions unanswered is who exactly is at war here. No one wants to talk about the elephant in the room. Just the usual blame game between indigents and settlers, and people's growing distrust of security personnel.
They have never taken the issue of this crisis since 2001 serious. They are not ready to put all their effort to see and to find out the reason for the killings and then the attacks on our people. They have set up several committees since 2001 to date. Peace committees, on a panel on this, panel on that. Up till now, there is no result. Even the perpetrators of this crisis, nobody has been arrested from those that are killing our people. We know them. We know them by their names and their phone numbers.
Locals are accusing the military of not putting in place proactive measures to secure farmlands and protect them from incessant attacks. They are asking the government to withdraw the soldiers. Their argument is that soldiers have not stopped the killings and that farms are being grazed by cattle.
Killing us like animals. Securities are not even helping. Are we not Nigerians? Is there security in Plateau State? The government should come to our help. We are tired of all these things. Yes, we don't want them anymore. We don't want them. We don't want the soldiers. Let them be withdrawn.
Some selected communities in Plateau State, which include Mangu, Riom, and Barkin-Ladi council areas, have suffered a series of attacks and killings that have caused the deaths of about 600 persons from April till date. 3 kilometers from Mangu in Plateau State, a recent attack also left another 4 persons dead. These attacks are happening after Nigeria's Chief of Army Staff, General Taoreed Lagbaja, visited Mangu local council area, launching Operation Hakorin Damisa Special Forces. For about 2 weeks, The presence and efforts put forth by the Operation Safe Haven operatives with the troops of Operation Hakorin Damisa counts the killings and counter-killings until the latest attack. As of July 2023, there are an estimated 30,000 internally displaced persons spread across 8 local government areas of Plateau State. The number keeps growing. The months-long crisis has been a costly trajectory for the indigents and settlers.
Yeah, in our house, we had people are coming on the back of our house. They just shoot gun. And I pack my children, we come out in the house, and I left one of my child in the house. Then they come and meet her in the house with 2 of men in our house, our tenants. Then they come and the girl, she want to run because we have run and go inside the bush. We sleep down. We sleep in the bush, and the girl before she come out in the house, they come and meet her and they slaughter her. They cut her neck and her stomach. And the 2 of the men that we left them in the house, they killed them and burn them inside the house. If they will help us and bring security for us, we will thank them, so that they should help us build our house, so that we should go back to our village.
When the governor of Plateau State was sworn in on the 29th of May, he promised to ensure the total return of all internally displaced persons to their original places of abode before the end of the first year of his administration. He also appealed to residents to help him break the cycle of hate and attacks in the state.
Few people have been picked up here and there, but more about people in possession of firearms and a few other criminal tendencies. But by and large, the perpetrators of these crises are still out there, that we've not been able to make any major breakthrough in terms of arrests. But we have many suspects. We have information about several people who are part of this crisis, who are instigators of this crisis, who are merchants making a fortune out of this crisis. And a lot of these people are known to the security agencies already. Ultimately, our desire is that people should return to their ancestral homes. But while working out the modalities of that, we have to make sure that they do not lose hope. And so we will continue to do the best we can to provide them with some palliatives that will make life less stressful.
The women and children are the most vulnerable sect. Their hands are itching to till the grounds, plant, and nurture those left behind. They just want their security guaranteed.
Herdsmen come around our area around 8 o'clock in the evening. What happened is that before these things started, we don't even know that they will reach our area. So as we are at home, we start hearing some sounds of guns from various villages. It's from there that we people start running away. And we run away around 7 o'clock in the evening. So by 8 o'clock night, they came to our village, to Kinat. They started shooting guns everywhere. Our men were there. But unfortunately, what happened is that we thank God because they did not shoot anybody around that area. We even thank our men because they try so much. They burned some houses, especially my house. They burned everything in my house. The fertilizer that I bought to farm, almost 30 bags, they have burned it. In fact, in my house, I did not get anything now. I lost my properties, my fertilizer that I supposed to farm, I lost everything in the house. Up to now, our men are around the locality. They did not leave the locality. But we are seeking for government for support, to support our men so that they will get food over there to eat. And even our children, now we are staying, there is no school, there is no clothes for them to wear. Our people of the locality are displaced. So we don't know where our brothers are even staying. But we people are staying in Mangwe area around here. We manage life the way we get ourselves, and we are praying for God to let these things stop so that we people will go back to our locality and continue our life the way we are staying before.
The crisis that starts with we Mogavul and Fulani. We don't fight anybody and we never trouble anybody. As we are staying in our village, once they just come, send us away. And they burn our house, as me that I'm saying. I don't have husband. I'm with my children alone. They burn my house and everything in my house. I don't come out with anything. Only the clothes that I hold in my body, I just run away with it. And many people, they run away as how I run. Because when they send us out, they start burning our house. The house they live, they start pick all things that in our house, carry our corn, carry everything in our house. They just pick it away. So we just run with our life. We come here.
For the households, no amount of humanitarian materials can make up for the loss or immediate need of the family. Sometimes they ask children to sell items like sachet water and local snacks around the town, further putting the children at the mercy of exploiters lurking everywhere. Why is the Plateau a target for marauders?
You know, Plateau is a tin mining city. Those that came for mining, they are the ones that want to take over Plateau from the indigenous owners. If you look at the settlement, you will see some colonial buildings, which was built by the colonial masters. As they were going, they handed over to the Hausa Fulanis. You understand? So, by giving them that privilege, they think they own the whole Jos. In 1974, they make an attempt to take over, but during the military, they couldn't allow them. Now, it continues simultaneously up to 2001 when they hit the major attack on the indigenous people, then continuously up till today. And when they are talking about reprisal, who is reprisal what? Who is retaliating? We have never sit down as an ethnic group to plan to go and attack the Fulanis or the Hausa settlement. We have never tried it. Every day we are always on defense. If they come, we defend ourselves. If they come, we defend ourselves. That is why you see in the course of the defense, our people have run away.
We interviewed a representative of the settlers to hear their own side of the story. Apparently, it's not only the Magavu people that recorded losses. The Fulanis claim at least 300 persons have been killed in the months-old crisis, but no one talks about it. He feels they are being marginalized.
Sunana Haya Bello Shanono ni ne chairman yake Allah na kamar kumar Mangu. Alal hakika har ga Allah abin da ya faru a Mangu.
What happened in Mangu is still a surprise to us. We really cannot say how it started and how it has gotten this far. What has happened to the Fulanis here is a surprise because my grandfather was born and raised here, and my late father stayed here for decades, about 115 years. This entire crisis is an issue that started between a herdsman and a farmer. They chased us with armored tanks and shoot into the air, forcing Fulanis to run away. They burnt down their huts and houses and take over their belongings. Operation Rambo supports the Mwagavu people. I'm giving you this with 100% confidence and assurance that Operation Rambo is supporting the Mangu people. This evidence I'm giving you involves me. They threatened to kill me inside the Mangu police station, and the DPO is aware of what happened. We are happy with the steps the government has taken because, as I speak, they have brought in security operatives almost everywhere around Mangu. But these people only secure those in the cities. But I'm hoping that by God's grace, they will protect those of us who are in the hinterlands.
Abin da ke faruwa a Mangu ba alheri bane.
Let me also tell you that we Fulanis do not have securities. There is no protection for us. We usually do not stay in the towns. We live in the bushes and farms, and no one will come all the way down to protect us. It's an advantage for us if those in the cities are well protected. There won't be any challenge coming back into the cities and dwelling with people like we have always done in the past. To be honest with you, if there is a place we can pay or purchase, we Fulanis of mango don't mind to purchase it for mango to be at peace. We do not have any challenge because there are some things that bind us with the mango people. There is intermarriage between us and religion. If you go round Ouagadougou, you will see that there are approximately 7 major mosques that on a daily basis you can only find Fulanis who troop in. They separate us completely and treat us like scapegoats as I speak. I do not think we have up to 3 or more districts in the local government of Mangu that we are eligible to go to and relate with people. Honestly, this issue gives us sleepless nights, and there seems to be no elders on both sides that have been able to call for a dialogue and find a way to resolve this issue, because what is happening in Mango is not ideal, and to be honest, no country moves forward except there is peace. We the Fulanis want peace.
It's just 2 weeks ago that this man came in and they are running away. If not, we go there now, you see them grazing on our farmland up till now. So why should they say they have gone, they have all run away? You see them. Yesterday when we were coming, you see some of them. So they have not gone. They are still there. It's just a pretense. Yes, they went to the air and said, we killed 200 Fulanis, we killed that. Can they show us the mass grave? We can show you all the mass grave of our people. I did the burial. I know every grave where we did the burial. The mass grave are there. But they cannot show me one grave that this is where they buried one Fulani.
Something like this is happening, and we the Fulanis do not even have a councillor. We do not hold any position at the federal or state level, yet they have gone ahead to television and radio stations to paint us bad, calling us terrorists. How did they drive you from your home and yet still call you terrorists? We are pleading, if there is a way we can come to dialogue, we want peace. There is no place where we can go. Where do you want us to go? Let me swear by God that we do not have any means or anyone we can go to hire. And for what purpose? For someone in Mangu? No now, no. They are the ones who had always had an agenda that during this politics, when they get into power, they will make sure we are not part of this neighborhood. The reason why this fight has not been resolved is because of politics has been involved in it. This is something the entire world is seeing, but nobody is saying anything about it. For them to insinuate that we brought in mercenaries, to do what? To come and attack us in our homes? At this moment, we have lost about 320 Fulanis. 1,000 people are injured and are still at the hospitals. Over 3,000 cattle lost, and right now, you will not see any house standing. We do not even want to start making noise in the media. If the government want to come, let them come and see for themselves. We do not have houses. We moved back to the bushes and stay under the trees. We lay polythene bags. Some that can stay in the town are still there, but others are in the forest. In a day, we lose up to 20 to 30 children to malaria. It's not a funny sight.
The Magavu people also killing the settlers.
That we kill
some of the settlers.
I will not say no, because it's too fighting in court. You understand? In self-defense, you either lose your life or I lose mine. So our own self-defense is that we are always on ground in our houses. They bring the attack. In the events that I'm able to overpower them with my cutlass, with my den gun, then I kill. We have never arranged one morning and then we say, okay, hey, Mwavul, oh, Biram, come, let's go and attack Fulani. We have never done it. They always come to our land and attack us and then we defend. Sometimes the securities are even against us. With the cutlasses we carry, They will still say, look at us and shoot us. That we are carrying arm. Cutlass is not an arm, it's for protection.
According to research, Plateau State is among the most ethnically diverse parts in Nigeria, with about 30 ethno-linguistic groups in the state. Each of these diverse groups have their own histories of migration and settlement, although they differ in narration. However, defining which groups are indigenous and which are settlers is one of the main areas of dispute. Whenever there is an attack, journalists like Funom Joshua and Agada Okopi brave the odds to report the attacks.
This is another grave site where people killed on Friday.
The situation there is so pathetic, a very painful one. I recall there was a day precisely on the 19th of July. That's 2 days after the first attack that led to the death of over 10 people. We went to one of the attacks community where we saw the pathetic situation that some of the victims are living after the invasion in that community. That night, it was a midnight attack. The very unfortunate situation that got my attention at that point of time was sighting some of the marauders from a distance. We saw them looking at us from a distance. The attack persisted for over 24 hours with the locals there, falling victims of this situation with no rescue measures at that point of time, because they were only there on their own with no support from the security operatives. It happens. The rescue came after 24 hours. Now we went there, we took courage to go to that particular community, and we sight the marauders from a distance, waiting for the night to come so that they will launch another attack. Now the locals, some of them were telling us, these are the people that are attacking us. You can see them from a distance, and it's very painful seeing them, and you can't do anything. Now some of the locals that took the courage to follow us, because we moved with a security vehicle that were protecting us. Now we saw people killed, mass grief where some of the attackers, some of the victims were buried, houses, properties burned beyond just saying.
Sometimes they are moved to play with the displaced persons. Hopefully, that will bring some comfort to those grieving.
You became the victim because the villagers will attack you, thinking that where were you when they were attacked. Let me narrow it to Mangu. When we started covering Mangu since the incident, it was a trauma upon trauma upon trauma and tragedy the people are going through and the rest. But one funny thing that amazed me that particular time, when you come to Mangu town, you see the concentration of security in Mangu town. Then when you get to some of these villages, you will not see the presence of security. And when I get back home, if I start reflecting what I encounter in the field, sometimes I'll be sleeping, I'll just suddenly woke up from some of those traumas that we experienced. You can see some of the villagers, the tragedy, you can see from their face, is not palatable.
Several farmlands and crops, along with other properties belonging to the locals, have been destroyed and are still being destroyed despite several efforts to tackle the menace. All eyes are on the newly established Security and Information Sharing Center, inaugurated by the Caleb Mofwang administration. The question of what they will do differently to put an end to this crisis echoes, since previous administrations have failed to end these attacks on the plateau. For now, pray for the peace of Plateau State.
This Sunday, she's brave, vivacious, and talented. Toma may be on the wheelchair, but carries an infectious smile and passion that drive her.
I teach the students how to use their part of body to
to do some artwork.
With her legs, yes, her legs, she's doing the extraordinary to survive and pass a message.
You have to think good about yourself. You have to look beyond your disability.
We bring you the story of Toma Uno, burdened by palsy, yet determined by fate.
The first thing is to identify the peculiarities of children, channel these peculiarities to the things that will make them productive.
That's on Sunday Specials, where great stories live.
There is always more to a story than the screaming headline. The part of a story that is not told casts a shadow. It's like the part of an object that is not reached by light. On TVC News, I'm able to explore the many angles there are to a story, talking to stakeholders, asking the difficult questions, and digging for facts. I believe the viewers are able to make a better decision if they're well informed and understand not just a part, but the complete story. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Information is power, information is security, information is knowledge. On Labor Lens, we believe that working people around the world have real questions of their own. They want to know how the world of work operates, what it means to the employer of labor, how policies affect workers in the workplace. On Labor Lens, I ensure we engage effectively the organized labor, organized private sector, and government to get out of them information workers are in need of. I am Sharon Ijason, asking questions that make you get sense of the workplace.
Experience information and entertainment like never before as TVC Breakfast takes your weekends to a whole new level. Introducing TVC Breakfast Weekend Edition, your ultimate source of thrilling sports updates, insightful political analysis, and captivating entertainment news. Stay in the know with what's trending, catch up with the latest in sports, and immerse yourself in the latest buzz from the world of music and movies. Your weekends are no longer just days off, but moments packed with knowledge, excitement, and enjoyment. TVC Breakfast Weekend Edition, only on TVC News, starting 2nd September 2023.
Taraba is not called nature's gift to the nation for nothing. It has several landmarks and natural endowments, serving as tourist haven. It's home to more than 40 tribes and languages that have existed for centuries. Get to know more about these resources and how Governor Darius Ishaku is harnessing them to bring greater developments to the state on Discover Taraba.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Idori, a legendary city situated on the rock, is a land of honor where youths make headlines as nature's freeze for the trees of tourists. From sunrise to sunset, Idori smolders in the radiance of its smoking hills, ushering visitors into a refreshing land of ravishing magnificence. In words and in deeds, Idori dazzles, escapulating its cultural, economic, and entertaining potential. It's a community in Ondo State, southwest Nigeria, which is about 20 minutes drive from the state capital, Akure. Historically, the people of Idori lived on the east before moving down to their present location at the foot more than 100 years ago. High Chief Charles Akinde Dioshori of Idori Kingdom and an erudite scholar explain what led to the migration of the people from the E-top.
We were led there by Olofin, the brother to Ududua. That's what the history told us. And Olofin didn't reach Okedore, but Olofin stopped at Utaja, where he died. And he died at Utaja, and the son of Olofin, who is Agbogun, led us from Utaja to Okedore, which we call Ufeke, because we came from Ife, so we call it Ufe-Oke. What led us to Okedore is because of the property of Ife, which Olofin brought with him. We were told that Oramiya, who founded Benin, came with Olofin to Utaja.
From any angle in Idori, one can see the alluring eats, and virtually every activity in the town revolves around this collection of hills. Climbing the hills is not a journey for the faint-hearted. It requires strength, resilience, and stamina. Walking to the top of the hills is no doubt the toughest part of the journey. To get to the top, tourists will have to climb 682 steps with 5 resting points along the route where people can take some rest. And this is the second resting point. We're still going to climb more, and we still have 3 more resting points before we get to the pinnacle, to the top of Idori Hills. I'm already tired, but I'll get there.
So at this very point,
Sister, you're not going again.
You don't finish a story in a day.
A tourist is directed by a tour guide who is conversant with the monuments on the hills. Idori Hills are full of many attractions which make your visit memorable and delightful.
Yo, bro, are we done? We still have 22 more.
We came across some stories from different higher institutions who came to catch fun. The tour guide took us around some historical monuments, like the first primary school in the town, the courts, Asian palace, prison, Estel Beji, and the Aron River. The first primary school was built in 1896, and the building is still standing for everybody to see. The fun seekers played in the Aron River